Donald Trump's proposal is to separate parents from children, which is awful. And we've talked about the hundreds of kids that may never see their parents again. Some of them are too young to even truly know their own names. They're infants, and certainly don't know their parents. You may have seen the 5-year-old boy in a court, doesn't speak English, wasn't given a lawyer, actually sitting at a table drawing. That's a mockery of legal proceedings. We can incarcerate parents with their children. That was another proposal of Donald Trump, except that courts have said it's unfair to incarcerate children at all, given that they don't know what's going on. They haven't done anything wrong. They have to be released. So what happened under the Obama administration is children were released with their parents. And Donald Trump says you can't do that. That's what he calls catch and release, because they get in the country and they never show up for their asylum hearing. And to be fair, there are some asylum seekers that don't show up. How many do you think don't show up? 90%? 80%? 70%? Half? You'd be wrong. Of all asylum seekers, only 11% did not show up for their legal proceedings. 89% duly showed up and made their case. And in a pilot program that began under President Obama to make sure people show up, to let them know what their rights are, to give them some idea of what the process they were going through, 99% attended all the ICE, the Immigration Customs Enforcement check-in and appointments. 99%, and 100% turned up for court hearings. Under this pilot program, not a single asylum seeker in the United States ran away and didn't show up for court. The Trump administration ended this pilot program last June. They don't want asylum seekers to show up in court. They don't want them in this country at all. And here's the thing. That's why you shouldn't be telling me this is about illegal immigrants. The immigrants are following the law. The asylum seekers are following the law. They want to enter at ports of entry, make their case, which and sometimes is a hard case to make, and sometimes is an easy case to make, given the brutality going on in Central America right now. They want to make their case, and they show up. It's just not true that they don't. All right, we've got a couple minutes left. Let's go to our new caller, Rob in Mesa, Arizona. Wow, he's close to the border. Line 1. Hey, Rob, how are you?
Hey, fine. Thanks, Mark. Hey, I just wanted to point out one thing, that Nicaragua is 90% Christian. Mm-hmm. So this is a Christian caravan. So basically what you have going on right now is gassing people at the border who are Christians.
Yep.
So this is a war on Christianity, if you want to go that route.
You know, it's a war on people who are brown. And
right. That's my point, too.
I mean, you know, we haven't set up a wall across our northern border, which is twice as long as our southern border. I don't see people coming into Montana from Alberta being tear gassed. It isn't happening. And
right. And then most of the breaches in the border are tunnels. So.
But the irony is these aren't even people trying to enter illegally. These are people trying to enter through our national ports of entry legally, according to U.S. law, which is asylum law. If Donald Trump doesn't think America should be a refuge for people who are persecuted, then he should present that and see how Congress deals with it. I don't think Congress would deal with it. I don't think Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz, who came here because their parents were escaping Cuba, would be really happy with a law that says, sorry, we don't accept refugees anymore, even though we are a country of refugees.
And the other side of it is they could fix the problem by having people here legally, maybe not as citizens, but just the work visas, get all that cleaned up, find the people who hire illegals. People who hire people
undocumented.
Who are not
Here's the thing. Yeah. There are lots of different ways to do immigration reform. And back when Bill Clinton was president, John McCain, 28, 30 Republicans in the Senate were ready to do it. Democrats are ready to do it. Even recently, and there's a lot of pushback against Schumer and Pelosi, they offered to have some border security if we could allow the children who came here undocumented, DACA, allow them to have some legality. Trump refused it all. He's refused all legitimate compromise. All we can do is help vote him out. This is Mark Levine. Talk to you Thursday.
Leslie Marshall, the simple truth in a complicated world. 888-6-LESLIE.
You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network. And here's a clip from Tara Buster with Tara Devlin.
Because Trump talks about, I'm a nationalist. They don't see the country as something. They're not patriots. They wear those made in China American flag lapel pins like Ivanka wears her sexy accountant look. It's an act. It's a show to attract the morons. They fit the suit. It's another way to lull dumbasses, the same way they wear patriotism, the same way a prostitute puts on her lipstick to lure in her tricks. They wrap themselves in the flag. If they loved America, the minute the Russians came by and said, we have dirt on Hillary Clinton, they would have called the FBI. They would have said, no thank you. I don't collude with anti-democratic foreign dictators. You see? Don't you see my made in China American flag lapel pin? He's basically a Russian asset that they've been cultivating for decades. He's easy. He's an easy mark. So he thinks there's a lot of easy marks that it's like, it's like those Russian dolls of easy marks. You keep opening it up and then you eventually get down to the idiots at the Trump rallies.
This is Tara Devlin from RDTDaily.com, and that was a clip from Tara Buster.
Tara Buster is recorded live every Saturday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern at the RDT Daily Facebook and YouTube channels and rebroadcast on Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Progressive Voices or anytime on demand on the Progressive Voices app.
Support RDT Daily and the Progressive Voices Network. Remember, we stick together, we win.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
The president has said that climate change is a hoax. Do you agree with him?
Senate Democrats grill Trump EPA chief nominee in confirmation hearing.
Exactly how hot are we talking? Well, I mean really hot.
Historic heat wave grips Australia. EPA criminal actions against polluters hits 30-year low. Plus,
all of this is for real. But nobody has done enough planning.
The business world is waking up to climate change impacts.
All of those wake-up calls and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
It's not binary. It's not effed or not effed. It's a matter of how effed.
Dr. Michael E. Mann, climate scientist, working blue. The heat must be getting to him. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, another January, another code red heat emergency down in Australia?
Yes, literally. Australia's National Weather Service this week issued its highest level alert to warn public welfare agencies to act quickly to protect vulnerable populations during what is an extreme, historic heat wave that's blasting most of the country over the past 2 weeks. It's broken all-time high temperature records for both day and overnight, with temperatures in some areas topping 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
And have the record bushfires started yet?
Oh, yes, they have. Meanwhile, down at the South Pole, Antarctica's ice sheets are melting faster than previously thought and are accelerating sea level rise. Scientists publishing in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that warming ocean waters drove a 600% increase in annual ice loss from the East Antarctica ice sheet since 1979. The scientists called acceleration of the ice melt a clear indication of man-made climate change.
Yeah, the right-wingers on Fox News, the climate deniers, have all been telling me that, sure, we may be losing ice in the Arctic, but the Antarctic is actually gaining ice. Not so?
Not so much.
Imagine that.
Surprise! The Environmental Protection Agency's mission of enforcement actions against polluters has fallen to a 30-year low under the Trump administration.
Shocking.
That's according to a new report released this week by watchdog group PEER, Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility. Based on Justice Department data, the number of pollution cases that the EPA referred for criminal prosecution hasn't been this low since the Reagan administration. PEER's executive director told the Associated Press, quote, "We're reaching levels where the enforcement program is lacking a pulse."
Great. No more government tyranny.
Meanwhile, the EPA's failure to enforce pollution laws was a hot topic for Democrats in the Senate confirmation hearing this week for former coal lobbyist Andrew Wheeler, who took over as acting chief of the EPA after Scott Pruitt resigned amid a flood of scandals. Senate Republicans praised Wheeler, but Democrats grilled him on the Trump EPA's rollbacks of pollution standards and U.S. climate policy. Wheeler testified he doesn't think man-made climate change is a hoax, but it's not a top concern. Here's his exchange with Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont.
The president has said that climate change is a hoax. Do you agree with him?
I've not used the hoax word myself.
I see. Scientific community has said that climate change is one of the great crises facing our planet. There will be irreparable damage in the United States and in virtually every country on Earth. Do you agree with the scientific community?
I would not call it the greatest crisis, no, sir. I consider it a huge issue that has to be addressed globally.
Wheeler's confirmation is all but assured in the Republican-controlled Senate.
So is this guy ultimately any better than Scott Pruitt, or is he just as bad or potentially even worse?
Potentially even worse. As a longtime lobbyist, he knows how to navigate the system.
And yet still as much of a denier.
Finally, some good-ish news. The business world is waking up to the dangers posed by man-made climate change and extreme weather. In a survey by the annual World Economic Forum in Davos this week, CEOs and investors ranked the effects of climate change as the top 3 risks they're most likely to face in 2019, from extreme weather, damaged infrastructure, and migration caused by disasters. On a recent broadcast, LA Times business columnist Michael Hiltzik referenced the pending bankruptcy of PG&E, California's largest electric utility after catastrophic wildfires, as a warning to the business community.
These are risks that we have to have a broader discussion about how to manage them, and there are risks and there are opportunities in climate change together. So all of this is for real, but nobody has done enough planning up to this point.
Nobody has, and yet here we sit. For much more on all of these stories and the ones we couldn't get to today, please check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Don't forget you can download our reports anytime via Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, or Google Play. Find us, follow us, and share us planet-wide on the Facebooks and the Twitters at Green News Report. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
Please help Progressive Voices support the Green News Report by stopping by bradblog.com/donate.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop.
Oh, well, just like his life was stopped short, that clip just stopped short. I don't know what that's about. But happy Martin Luther King Day, everybody. Happy Martin Luther King Day. I have to tell you that the 3 great laws of the Civil Rights Movement, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968 all happened because of that movement. All happened because the man who knew he was going to die before his death I mean, if Jesus came back himself, he would say, I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but, mine eyes have seen the glory, which is what he said there. And we would do the same thing today, I believe. I believe that people would actually, I can't even imagine what Donald Trump would be tweeting about Martin Luther King right now. Can you? Like, I don't even want to think about what nicknames he would come up with. Do you? I think a couple of weather forecasters used it recently by accident. If you don't know, just go look that up. But, Trump had 0 events today on his calendar. I mean, 0 events today on his calendar. I would say of all days, but really this is the day that you would guess that, Trump would most likely ignore a commemoration. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't seem to me the civil rights type. And now with this Supreme Court, with the Kavanaugh, with the Squee guy, and and the court, I mean, we could be facing a Supreme Court that decides that they're going to chip away until at these laws until there's absolutely nothing left. Because look what they did to the Voting Rights Act, before Scalia died. Rest in peace. There's no more racism in America. No more. And, over the weekend, we saw that there is racism. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of hatred out there. It's really kind of sad. The whole thing was kind of sad. I mean, you had these, I don't even know, we have these people around here, the Black Hebrews that wear, let me tell you something. These guys are, they have no business calling themselves religious because they are nasty. And they are, they are the first to attack people based on the color of their skin. They're, and then you have the Catholic boys wearing the Make America Great Again hats. What the hell was that about? I mean, and they go, well, our chaperone told us that we could, your chaperone should have told you that if you're at a Right to Life rally, that maybe Donald Trump isn't your guy, knowing that he knocks people up and pays them. It's so vile. And then you had a Native American man, a Native American elder of the Omaha tribe, Nathan Phillips, I believe was his name, a Vietnam veteran, he says. And he just tried to diffuse it the best way he could. And it was just so obvious that there's so much division in this country that just playing a draw. See, we need clothes. We need music. If we're going to have a real movement, this is what's missing. What's missing for a real movement, a real civil rights revelation, a real, ending of hostilities is we need music. We need clothing. We need, a culture that actually shows who we are and what we stand for, just like they have those stupid MAGA hats. A Randi Rhodes T-shirt might be a good thing. A Justice Democrats T-shirt, I've seen those. Those are good, right? The way to go, Cenk. I've seen that. But who's going to write the music for that? It's so sad. It's just so sad. And if Martin Luther King were alive today, I just can't even imagine how Trump would be attacking him. I can't. And so what happened this morning was, all the news media were noting that Trump's schedule was completely empty today. It was just full of executive time so he could watch TV all day. And I guess he was annoyed that the cable shows weren't going, full steam because of Martin Luther King Day. And they were giving, some respect for the fact that this man is responsible for the 3 great laws of the civil rights movement that the Supreme Court is about to chip away at. You know what I mean? And so all of a sudden, he must have seen these references of him ignoring the day because all of a sudden him and Mike Pence made this stealth appearance at the King Monument on the Washington Mall. And he had to be told, what to do and where to put the it looked like Tatalia and the 5 families at Vito Corleone's funeral. That's what it looked like. It was like mob bosses putting in an appearance at the funeral of the big rival. It looked like for the world to see this, it would look like, Trump was just checking to make sure Martin Luther King Jr. was still dead. That's what it looked like this morning. It's so sad. He had nothing on his calendar. Not a damn thing. And this after crazy-ass Rudy Rama. Did you see this week? I don't know if you watched Sunday shows or what your plans were yesterday. I know playoffs and, oh, yay, everybody, the Patriots. Yeah. So Brett's right. Brett says, at the beginning of the season, he always says, well, when people ask him who's going to win the Super Bowl, he says the Patriots because there's there's a pretty good chance he'll be right.
Death, taxes, and the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
It's unbelievable. And Tom Brady, isn't he elderly now? I mean, how is this happening? How is this happening? Fourth. 40. He's 40? How many Super Bowls would this be for him? 9?
This is number 9 out of 18 seasons.
9. Number 9. Number 9. It's very anticlimactic, the whole thing. The whole thing. And I'm getting bronchitis. I'm coming down with something. I'm in a mood. I'm just in a mood. I just cannot believe that the President of the United States, well, forget it. This is who he is. This is what he does. And now he's taking hostages. He made this, look, Friday was crazy. It was just nuts. After we left, about 7:30 on Friday night, you remember everybody was saying, if true, that BuzzFeed story was an impeachable offense. Remember, if true. And we were all couching it like that. You know why? Because journalists understand that other media organizations are going to go try to confirm bombshell reporting, and nobody could do it. And so that's why everybody was reporting to you on Friday, if true, if true, if true. Even we said, if true, if true, if true, because nobody was sure about that story, because you always see stories being corroborated by other media outlets, and this one wasn't. By 7:30 Friday night, Mueller had put out some sort of a statement, and it wasn't a specific statement. It was a very parsed, very ambiguous statement about specific references in the BuzzFeed story not being accurate. And we didn't know, and nobody knows, and CNN doesn't know, and the Washington Post doesn't know, and the New York Times doesn't know, and New York Magazine doesn't know, and Vanity Fair doesn't know, and Wall Street Journal doesn't know. Nobody knows. None of the major media organizations and these awesome reporters that work on our behalf every single freaking day that people take for granted and that Trump calls the enemy of the American people, they were working overtime trying to, Maggie Haberman, Tom Hamburger, Devlin, what's his name, Patrick Devlin. I mean, everybody was trying, Ken Delaney, and all these people trying their very level best to confirm the story, and they couldn't confirm the story. But then Rudy, idiot boy, on Sunday gets on TV and pretty much confirms what they were reporting. And that is that Michael Cohen did talk to Donald Trump ahead of his congressional testimony, and that they had a joint defense agreement, and they were sharing information, including what Michael Cohen was going to testify to in front of Congress, and that Michael Cohen was going to tell a lie. Now, whether Trump ordered him to do it, or Trump condoned it, or Trump acknowledged it, or Trump heard it and didn't stop it, it's no different than if Trump, said to him, I want you to lie. It's no different. And you know how you know that? Because Richard Nixon's articles of impeachment said exactly that Richard Nixon condoned and went along with and, knew. And so I don't even understand why this story is in dispute, but it is. It's in dispute. And I will go through it. I'll play you that the BuzzFeed reporters say that they have reconfirmed their story. And at the heart of that BuzzFeed story is the fact that Michael Cohen talked to Donald Trump about his testimony ahead of his testimony to Congress, and that he informed Donald Trump what he was going to testify to, and Donald Trump didn't tell him not to do it because it was a lie. He condoned it. He didn't say, don't do that. That's not true. We were involved in the Trump Tower Moscow right up until the day we were elected. So I don't get what the big contretemps is. Somebody will have to tell me what the big beef with BuzzFeed really is, because I'm not sure what was so incredibly wrong, except to say that they did open their article with 2 law enforcement officials. Now, for all we know, people are saying that the 2 law enforcement officials that BuzzFeed is quoting were part of Mueller's team. But for all we know, they could have been part of Southern District of New York. We don't know, because Southern District of New York is who prosecuted Michael Cohen. And what was Michael Cohen prosecuted for? For lying to Congress about this. About when the Trump Tower Moscow ended. So I don't get it. But, listen, here's the good news. The good news is we have even more amazing candidates, more people announcing for president. We're going to have a 2021 people to choose from in our primaries. And today, as you know, I'm sure Kamala Harris announced that Kamala, I'm going to have to learn how to say her name now that she's presidential material. But Kamala Harris announced today that she was definitely running for president.
We're here now with Senator Kamala Harris. She's a Democrat from California, first elected to the Senate in 2016 after 20 years as a prosecutor, including stints as the district attorney for San Francisco and attorney general of California.
And Senator Harris has also been laying the groundwork for a run for the White House. It is great to have you with us on this special holiday. Do you have an announcement you'd like to make?
I am running for president of the United States.
Well,
and I'm very excited about it.
You mentioned 20 years. We mentioned 20 years as a prosecutor. If you win,
yes,
you're going to be commander-in-chief.
Yes.
What qualifies you to be commander-in-chief?
Well, first of all, let me just say I love my country. And this is a moment in time that I feel a sense of responsibility to stand up and fight for the best of who we are. And that fight will always include, as one of the highest priorities, our national security. And thinking about it in a way that we understand that we must be smart, we must understand the power that we have, the strength that we have. That is about military power, it is about diplomatic power, it is about the power that we have in terms of what has been, until recently, our moral authority in the world and our ability to work with our allies. I am a career prosecutor, as you said. My entire career has been focused on keeping people safe. It is probably one of the things that motivates me more than anything else. And when I look at this moment in time, I know that the American people deserve to have somebody who's going to fight for them, who's going to see them, who will hear them, who will care about them, who will be concerned about their experience and put them in front of self-interest.
Well, that she's very, very persuasive, I will say. And I love the idea of somebody who really does value law and order. There are some issues with how she prosecuted certain cases. I expect the attackers to attack. In fact, I saw the attackers attacking this morning. And that's, that's what makes politics, political. But a black woman, I think that's the prescription for what ails us. I really do. I have so much faith in black women that I like this announcement this morning. I do. And, she's going to be ripped apart, but I can imagine her taking on Trump. I can. I mean, she took on Bill Barr the other day and exposed the fact that he doesn't know nothing, not even the Presidential Records Act. That was stunning. She's good at it.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Happy New Year, Herky Jerky fans. We certainly hope you had a festive holiday season and wish you a very prosperous 2019. It was so nice to hear all the positive feedback from customers who purchased Herky Jerky products during December, either as gifts or for yourself. The feedback from the holiday special of the $10 off orders over $50 and free shipping was so well received that my favorite jerky makers decided to continue it into January. So let's keep it rolling. For the rest of the month, all qualifying orders get the same discount and free shipping, no promo code necessary. All natural turkey jerky continues to be the top seller, but the 4 flavors of nitrite and preservative-free beef jerky, close second. Many of the longest-running Herky Jerky customers still prefer the meat sticks, like me. And why not? The venison, elk, and buffalo sticks and the beef smokies are the best on the market. And the bacon jerky, oh yeah, it's still delicious. So keep taking advantage of the savings, and Herky Jerky will continue producing the jerky you love. And thanks again for supporting our sponsor, Herky Jerky. Just visit herkyjerky.com.
If you want to continue enjoying great shows like Randi Rhodes, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Leslie Marshall, and so many others on the free mobile Progressive Voices platform, please go to progressivevoices.com and press the donate button right now. Thank you.
Progressive Voices needs your help.
Progressive Voices has grown in terms of audience, and that has also significantly increased their bandwidth costs, and they've tried to protect the limited commercial nature of their stream. And to keep up with costs, they need your help. You could say they're sort of victims of their own success. With nearly 1 million regular listeners now, the cost of operating the stream has grown beyond their wildest expectations. So if you want to continue enjoying The David Pakman Show on the free mobile Progressive Voices platform, please pitch in now. Go to progressivevoices.com and press the donate button.
You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network. And here's a clip from Tara Buster with Tara Devlin.
Karen Pence, the Second Lady of the United States, returned to teaching this week, accepting a part-time position at a private Christian school that does not allow gay students and requires employees to affirm that marriage should only be between a man and a woman. They also attack transgendered human beings because, they don't like peepees. They feel weird about people's peepees. They're really obsessed with what kind of peepee you have, where you're going to the bathroom with that peepee. They're very infantile, which is why they have a giant baby as a president, as a so-called president. They don't understand that your sexual orientation is not in your peepee. It's in your brain. So some people, their pee-pee doesn't match their brain. And some of them, they actually have the courage to grab whatever happiness they can out of this life and try to live an authentic life, in spite of the freaks like Karen Pence and Mike Pence bashing them with their fake version of Jesus. What the hell do they care? If somebody wants to transition, what does it matter to effing Karen Pence? So she loves Jesus so much? Shut the fuck up and go visit somebody in prison like he instructed you. You.
All things Randy at randyrhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
You sit on the Senate Intelligence Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee. You've been looking at the Russia investigation.
Right.
Have you seen any evidence that President Trump has committed an impeachable offense?
I cannot talk about the evidence that I've received in the Senate Intelligence Committee, but I will say that there is no question that Bob Mueller is conducting an investigation with the highest level of integrity. He is clearly taking the job very seriously. There have already been 33 indictments, and it is incumbent on the United States Congress to do everything in our power to ensure that his investigation is whole and will be complete without any interference.
It sounds like you don't think William Barr, the president's nominee for Attorney General, can oversee it in a fair manner.
Well, you're right. And during the course of the questioning of him, because I sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee, I expressed great concern, and I am very concerned that he was unwilling to agree that if the career people in the Department of Justice say he has a conflict and that he should recuse himself, he wasn't willing to agree that he would do that. We cannot... Back to your point about my career, my entire career has been focused on our system of justice. It is one of the hallmarks of what gives us strength as a democracy. And it becomes weak when people interfere with that system for political purpose. And no one in particular right now, when there are so many Americans that are distrustful of their government and its leaders and institutions, no one should give the American public any reason to question their integrity or the integrity of our system of justice. Yeah, absolutely.
So she is a law and order type of person. She is a prosecutor. She was a prosecutor for many, many years. She was also a district attorney. And she's a senator, a junior senator from California. Of course, Dianne Feinstein is the senior senator from California. Now she's running for president, and I kind of like this. I like all the competition. We're going to end up with about 21 people in our primary, and she's unbelievably good at being a senator. Let me just remind you that when she was questioning Bill Barr, who she was just asked about, she was fierce. She actually asked him about the Presidential Records Act with regard to the fact that the president spoke to Vladimir Putin in private and that the notes that were taken should have been preserved as part of the Presidential Records Act. And instead, Donald Trump took those notes from the interpreter and destroyed them or just hid them. We don't know which it is. And when she asked Bill Barr about that and the presidential, he said, well, maybe I knew what it was at one time. She goes, you don't know what it is? Remember that?
So you were the Attorney General, obviously, under President George H.W. Bush, and in the Reagan White House, a senior policy advisor. So I'm going to assume that you are familiar with the Presidential Records Act. And my question is, in the context of a Washington Post report that the president took possession of an interpreter's notes documenting the president's meeting with the Russian President Putin in 2017.
Who does that?
And the question then is, does that violate the Presidential Records Act?
Your initial assumption, I'm afraid, was wrong. I'm not familiar with that act.
You're not familiar
at some time I was, but I really don't know what it says.
You don't know what it says?
No.
Okay.
At some point,
the
I was.
president to keep documents and not destroy them, essentially.
At one point, I knew what it said, but I'm not familiar with it right now.
Oh my God, that was so painful. It was just such evidence of being at the bottom of the barrel of finding people to be stuff in the Trump administration and the stuff that he wants to be as Attorney General of the United States. That means to be in charge of the Civil Rights Division. I mean, it's heinous. It's really bad. She's been amazing. She's just been fierce and dogged about this. And, when asked about this ridiculousness over the shutting of the government so he could get his stupid wall, everybody's very clear that Trump said that he would take the mantle. He was proud to shut down the government. Now he's blaming somebody else. The corruption of this president, the inability for this president to keep his word makes him somebody no one can work with. That's the sad truth. I mean, he changes his mind all the time. He had a deal last year for the full amount of the wall. The wall's not $5.6 billion. The wall is $25 billion, and that's at the best price. The worst price is $80 billion. The 5.6 is a down payment on a bunch of fencing, okay? So this is just a big... And what does he do? He takes hostages. He took the DACA kids hostage. He's taken the people who are here under temporary protected status. Those are mostly people from Haiti that are here temporarily protected, who came here because of earthquakes and hurricanes and the inability to, live where they live. And so, I mean, it's just so amazing. And it's Donald Trump himself who took away the DACA protections and said, Obama violated the Constitution and put it in the court. The court disagrees with Donald Trump. The court has extended DACA protection at least until 2020 as it makes its way to the Supremes, who may not hear it. And if they don't hear it, then the lower court prevails, and that means DACA kids cannot be deported, that they do have protection under our law. TPS, same thing. He revoked TPS status. Now he's saying, I'll give it back to you. This is a crazy game he's playing, and the people that he's playing with are literally being fed at food pantries, and these people are in charge of America's national security. They're the very Border Patrol agents he's talking about, the customs agents he's talking about, the TSA agents he's talking about. Food stamps are now in question because not that they couldn't issue them, that people have their EBT cards. Stores were required to up their license. You need a license to use an EBT card, as a method of payment. And stores had to submit their applications. And then the government shut down, and some stores didn't get their applications approved. And so now they have to turn away people who are buying their groceries for them and their children with EBT cards. They have to turn them away. The hostage taking has got to stop. It has got to stop. Because if America, and I mean all Americans, give Donald Trump his stupid wall in exchange for taking all these people hostage, you're talking about at least 2, maybe 3 million people that Trump has taken hostage. Where are these 2-3 million people? 800,000 federal employees, 1.3 million DACA kids, and another 700,000 under temporary protected status. You're talking about 3 million hostages this president has taken. And if you give a bully what he wants, he's going to do it again. He's going to do it again. Every time he doesn't get his way, he will know that he can threaten the livelihoods of the people, the very people that protect us, the very people that are educating themselves to better themselves, to be an amazing part of our American fabric, the very people who work their tails off and break no laws because they're trying to get a path to citizenship, and he is the one that revoked even the smallest of protections that they enjoyed so that they could pursue education and jobs. It's a very sick situation, I have to say. It's just very twisted. And most people understand that he made this crisis. He owns this crisis. This is something of his own making.
Vice President's basic point, Democrats are ignoring a crisis, and says the president really is considering declaring a national emergency to go around Congress. Your response?
It's just not true. It's just simply not true. There was a bipartisan effort out of the United States Senate and the United States Congress to pass a funding of the government, and the president is holding it up because of his vanity project, which is this wall, at taxpayers' expense and at the expense of hundreds of thousands of workers who are working every day without being paid. So it's just simply not true. It's an emergency of his own creating.
But if he declares this national emergency, is there anything you can do to stop him?
Well, I think that there's no question that we will litigate, and there will be litigation. These are moments in our country where the beauty of the design of our democracy is being tested. And if you think about our democracy or the republic as being a tabletop standing on four legs, there are three independent co-equal branches of government and a free and independent press. And so what is happening over and over again in the last 2 years is those other branches of government and the courts and the press will put the checks and balances on the outrageous conduct of this administration. If he declares an emergency, I think that we will see, again, the checks and balances kick in, and particularly through the courts.
Yeah, and she's right, and that's why he keeps on, lying to the press, asking for TV time, saying, like it's a game show. I mean, this is what he did on Friday night. He said he'd have an announcement on Saturday. He's going to have a big announcement on Saturday. And, people are sitting there going, oh, my God, is he going to declare a national emergency? What is he going to do? Is he going to take all this power under? And, the president is too lazy to declare a national emergency. And I'm sure he knows that his people have counseled him that if he declared a national emergency, he still wouldn't be able to use the military to build his stupid wall. Okay, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and he wouldn't know how to do, and so he keeps on, teasing like it's a game show, like it's a freaking game show. Stay tuned tomorrow to see what happens to all these federal workers. Stay tuned and see what happens to all these DACA kids. Stay tuned and see what happens to temporary protected status relief. Stay tuned and see what happens to your border. I mean, it's the way he approaches this is so haphazard. It's so willy-nilly. It's so... it's like on a whim. He hasn't thought out anything. Now he makes this stupid announcement on Saturday. And what's really sick about it is he's been saying he's going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. Since he started running for president back in 2015, it's hard to believe. It's like 4 years of this mess. Isn't that hard to believe? No wonder we're all exhausted. No wonder my physical fitness is at an all-time low. No wonder I'm taking 10-year-old amoxicillin. Does anybody know if it'll still work? I swear, I found a prescription from like 2013 in my drawer of amoxicillin from the last time I was sick. And I said, you know what, I'll just take that. But honestly, I mean, he made this stupid announcement. And he scares everybody with, these claims of rape and crime and drugs and all this stuff. And none of the statistics bear him out. Every statistic you look at, one of the safest big cities on the border, well, the safest big city on the border is El Paso. Other cities on the border are the safest places ever. I mean, he just gets up and says stuff while he's taking hostages. It's a very sick thing to watch. And it's also sad that he teases the press this way. The last time he asked for prime time, they said okay, and he duped them because they thought that, the networks thought that he was going to make news. That's what he told them. Donald Trump told ABC, NBC, CBS, all the news networks, CNN, all the news networks, NBC, that he was going to make news. And everybody thought he was going to declare a national emergency. Well, he played them. And that's why he had to do this on a Saturday afternoon, because they wouldn't give him prime time. And of course, it was disappointing.
Thousands of children are being exploited by ruthless coyotes.
Oh, my God.
And vicious cartels and gangs. 1 in 3 women is sexually assaulted.
Oh, my God.
On the dangerous journey north. In fact, many loving mothers give their young daughters birth control pills for the long journey up to the United States.
Okay, where does he get this madness? Where does he get these sick, dark, twisted, evil, ugly views of people fleeing a violent and corrupt government? I mean, where does he get these views? This had to be Stephen Miller's work, okay? This had to be like the work of a white supremacist to write down those words that mothers are giving them. That's why they come in a caravan. In numbers, they can be safe. They don't need to pay coyotes. They don't need to pay the cartels. They come in a caravan because that's how you can protect yourself. He's just such a sick freak. He's just so twisted. He's always thinking about pedophilia. He's always thinking about child molestation. You know, it's like he obsesses about it. It's almost like when you're pointing your finger at somebody, remember 3 fingers are pointing back at you kind of thing? It's just so creepy.
Because they know they may be raped or sexually accosted or assaulted. Nearly 50 migrants a day are being referred for urgent medical care.
Not for rape. He's such a sick man. Oh, my God. What is this talk? What is this talk? It's just bizarre. All right, so here's his proposal, in case you missed it.
The proposal I will outline today is based on, first and foremost, on input from our border agents and Homeland Security professionals. And professionals they are.
Oh, please.
They know what they're doing.
All right, let's just discuss this one little point before we play the rest of this ridiculous proposal, which is to give back what he took away. Because he took away DACA, he took away TPS status, right? So that's what he's going to announce. I'm going to give back what I took away. The hostages I took, you can now have the hostages back, some of them. In 2015, when he came down the escalator with Melania and started calling Mexicans rapists and murderers and drug dealers and all that stuff, he did not have the input of the Department of Homeland Security or the professionals in national security. And he just made this stuff up out of whole cloth about a stupid wall. In fact, you know who thought up the wall? It was Roger Stone and